Hey, yeah, no, give me that. Yeah. It's Pierre Holzebus. Hey, how's it? No, I'll take that other thing. Give that to me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, my staff here is doing such a great job today and helping and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So,
welcome, baby!
We're back. We're back. Wake the kids and phone the neighbors. It's Pierre Holzebus. That's right. It is time for the podcast. That podcast is going to be an incredible amount of information for you today. It is The Technical Seller. My name is Pierre Holzebus with over 3 decades. I'm going on decade number 4 now of technical sales speciality, awesomeness in technical sales, and I'm here to help you get your sales game on. That's right, technical sales, helping you do the most important thing you can do in any business, which is acquire, identify, and retain the most valuable asset you have in business. And what is that, you may be asking, Pierre? Well, that is a customer. That's right, it starts with a customer, and sadly, your business will come to an end when there are no more of them around. Customers are king. Nothing happens until somebody sells something to a customer. That's right. And during this podcast, we are going to discuss the ability, honing your skills and abilities, helping you find tools and techniques to improve your ability to sell technology and tech. And that's the name of the game. That's the name of the game here. So thank you for your time and kind attention today. So, hey, we got a couple things. We've been talking about a bunch of stuff the last couple weeks around just kind of broad technology topics. And so I've got a couple of things that I think would be really helpful for us to talk about as technologists and technology salespeople, really about 2 things that are happening right now in the business. And what are some of those things that are happening? They are, what is it? What's the first thing what's the first thing that's going to be happening? Well, the first thing is we got a lot of disruption going on, right? We have a lot of disruption. So we've done some kind of book summaries and stuff like that to talk about digital disruption and change and how that's such an important aspect of what's going on. We've talked about selling to large businesses and kind of the skill set and the team that you need to sell to large businesses. Thing that amazes me, if you're in sales, a lot of sales organizations have the culture of, like win wires and, ring the bell when there's a sale, that kind of stuff, celebrate the wins. And, guess what happens? Sometimes, it's never one person. 9 times out of 10 in technology, especially when you're a sales engineer, it really implies actually that you're part of a team, that there's other people that are involved in it. In my day job at Microsoft, when we issue a win wire internally, you look at that list of people, everybody from licensing to engineering to just product marketing. There's literally 100 people involved sometimes in these sales. It's pretty amazing, actually, because it is very technical. Things are super technical, and there's a large degree of technical proof that has to happen along the way. But that's just your part of the whole thing. There's a whole boatload of other stuff like license agreements and monetary negotiations, ROI, economics and analysis that have to happen. And when you're in sales and selling technology, these all become an important part of what you got to do, what you got to bring to the table. All right. So anywho, so we talked a lot about that. And AI, if you're not in the AI game yet or thinking about how AI, we're going to talk about that today. Speaking about 2 things that are occurring in the market right now that you should be paying a lot of attention to as a technologist. And what happens, what's happening here is AI is becoming an important part of of what's going on. ChatGTP has been out there for in the public eye for about 6 months at this point. We're about 6 months in. I think in December is when it got released, and all of us went in and started playing with it and gotten, wow, like this is really, really helpful as a sales engineer. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that, as a sales engineer, how can ChatGPT be helping you in your day job right now, just right out of the box, whether that's going into the Bing inside of Microsoft Bing and using Bing Chat to help. And so that's one thing that occurs. You can go in and ask questions, and we'll talk through some of those things about engineering prompts and stuff like that. But the other part is also the disruption that's happening. And it's really an interesting thing about how technology is advancing faster than the business kind of components. And so I wanted to talk about that, about how sales technology is really outpacing our business's ability to kind of, let's say, uptake that information. So anyways, those will be some of the topics today. So hope you have a good time, and let's get right into it. Number one. How can ChatGPT be used as a sales engineer? Well, ChatGPT can be used as a sales engineer by supporting various aspects of your sales process, including things like lead generation and qualification, product knowledge, of course, and customer relationship management are really some of the ways that ChatGPT right now is being used. First thing is to think about is, I'm going to just broadly call this lead generation or qualification, kind of looking at leads and qualifying them. So one of the important things that's helpful for you to understand is like the market dynamics that surround your product, and what are some of the things that you would want to define about the business value of your product, and where those things show up, and how they impact your customers, right? And so thinking through the strategies behind your product and solutions. So things like, let's say right now, for example, I'm selling into a manufacturing environment. I can go into GTP and ask a question like, what are some of the key motions of this particular business strategy? So let's say your strategy is to lower costs in the supply chain around logistics, or you have technology that helps improve something. You want to be able to understand and relay the business values of those things, right? That is obviously a key component of what you're going to do, not just showing the tech and here's how the device tracker works or something like that, but you're going to want to understand the broader business context behind that. And so ChatGPT is just fantastic in doing this. I've done a bunch of workshops around this internally at different customers of using several different, let's say, business methodologies of discovery that get into business modeling, and basically being able to reverse engineer a customer's position and developing a business strategy before you even go in. So as a pre-sales planning tool, it is fantastic. And and how does that work, or how does something like that look like? Well, what you're able to do is ask it a question. Let's say as I mentioned, I have a factory, let's say, piece of equipment that I'm putting into a customer, and what is that business strategy that customer is going to do? And that's often called something like agile factory. An agile factory, that's kind of the new terminology that is being used today to describe what is happening in the factory, where factories, traditionally have just been run by people, and you started with a bunch of equipment on one end that was disassembled, and went down the production line and got assembled or built along the way, and people had little cells, and they worked on different parts of that widget as it got built throughout the process. And the factory was a linear kind of process, and it began at the beginning and ended at the end. And during that, in that world, you're really focusing on individual productivity, and machines that assist the individuals in terms of their productivity to make sure things are stacked right, counted right, and everything is ready at hand when that next widget comes down the line, and I have to put the door on the widget, or then the next person down the road gets to put the wheel on the widget. So all of that started back a long time ago, assembly lines. And so this is, today now we're looking at how an agile factory environment where things are a lot different than that. We're using technology on the line to help adjust the speed of everything, to make sure the temperatures of these are together. You have people working right next to robots, so there's safety issues. There's also just speed issues related to that. And along the way, what we want to do is obviously increase the efficiency. And this is what is so cool about factories, is that it's kind of an ongoing experiment all the time. That's the idea, at least in an agile factory. Back in the day, it was more like, how many parts do we need to build? And then we get that set of people in there, and then we just work on time studies and making sure we can maybe speed it up a little bit. But you're not really looking at a lot of innovation around the people part of it. And so the idea of an agile factory business strategy, it focuses on leveraging the leveraging agility to respond to rapidly changing demands in the customer and market positions while maintaining a high quality of production and efficiency in the operation. These are key motions to an agile factory business. So I want to, if I'm selling a widget in that agile factory, I want to be able to understand the strategy of how I can connect my product to that. So whether that is one of the big things around agile factory is customer centricity, that our customers' needs and feedback are continuously aligning our products and services that the factory produces to meet their expectations. That means we don't just have a model year and we build the same thing all the time. It means that in the middle, let's say if I'll use the automotive example, if we start getting feedback from service department that we need to make adjustments to the way something is manufactured or built or assembled, we need to be able to align that feedback with our production control. So that's not the way it used to be done, not the way it used to be done at all. And so I have to build a system that has enough agility in it to be able to bring changes in the middle of my production cycles. So I'm going to have mid-year changes that I might need to make and adjustments all the time into that production system. So that idea that my product that I'm selling into a company that is considering a modern factory, an agile factory, they need to be customer centric. Well, ChatGPT is helping me out. So I can go in here, like, what are the modern key motions of a agile factory strategy? And so it says, hey, customer centricity comes right on the top of the list. Cross-functional teams. I need to have different assemblies and multidisciplinary teams that can collaborate, innovate, and deliver value at a rapid pace. So that's part of this, like speed and being able to work together as a team. Lean thinking, the idea of adopting lean practices, eliminating waste, reducing batch sizes so I can, improve things incrementally instead of, making a whole bunch and then I got to rework all of those. Implement continuous improvement through cycles and iterative cycles and feedback. I need to have flexibility and adaptability. I need to be able to understand innovation and experimentation, encouraging a culture of innovation where the teams are empowered to experiment with new ideas. Like, this is something you would never hear, from a Ford plant, before. But now we want to be more innovative over time. We're going to have agile metrics and KPIs. We're going to have a lot of technology integrations because we have more tech in there, continuous learning and improvement, because I have this team that has to work fast. I have to have a learning culture that's part of that. If I have to have leadership at the head of the organization that can help lead the team and kind of coach them and nurtures that agile mindset that focuses on collaboration and empowering and being flexible and transparent, like, oh, that didn't work, let's try something else. And then I also have to have a scalability in there and think about resilience in my system that can scale smoothly. So once thing goes really well, I can just crank it right up. And, these are all of the qualities of lean manufacturing. And so I'm able, if I'm selling into a lean manufacturing using an AI system like ChatGPT, just go, what are the key motions? And so then here are some of the 10 key business strategies of that. I didn't have to go out and read a bunch of articles. I didn't have to go out and kind of consolidate all of that. Bing can do something really similar to this. If I go over to Bing and put this in the Bing chat and I ask that same question over to Bing, it's going to come back with not only a list similar to ChatGTP. One of the things that ChatGTP does is, it's just basically a language model that was taught a long time ago. Bing is doing a little different. It's actually going out and do searching and pulling back and characterizing that. And then it's giving links to those in the thing, so you can even do more detailed in here. What ChatGTP gave me is a list of 10 things. Bing is saying, hey, I found some information on the topic. According to the report by Boston Consulting Group, companies should start small when implementing agile production units within manufacturing, and directing support personnel are transforming the ways that support functions work within the production in order to address a key strategic objective, right? So that's another way of saying, hey, the Agile Factory needs to be collaborative and fast, right? You should define the main business objectives, the what, the how, so it's giving some strategies on how to do it. An Agile Factory strategy ensures quick distribution systems and promptness without losing the surface of the goods. An intelligent agile production strategy must be in place that can be concentrated on the accelerated moment for implementing innovations while determining what is suitable for the company and what is not. And so it's very similar. I like the way that ChatGPT structures the output, because you can say, give me 10 highlights or 10 different things, and it'll give you, really good kind of like good general level knowledge that maybe something that a consultant would give you, or something that if you went to a conference on this topic, these would be notes you would come away with. So it's definitely an acceleration of going from, I don't really know a lot about that particular business to, okay, at least I can have a good, intelligent conversation. So, like when we talk about the use of ChatGPT in that concept of lead generation and lead qualification, that's the thing that's helping us here. It's allowing us to identify potential customers by analyzing those, kind of market trends in particular customer segments, and really helps me start that whole process. Now, the other thing that ChatGPT can do, which is really, really interesting, is that it can take some data sets and put it into there and connect data sets like CSV files and stuff like that. And then I can start asking questions of it in a similar way that I can to do, like a Power BI or some data analytics tool. And so that is a more advanced set of usage. And so I'd love to detail that in a little more time, because there's some really kind of interesting things that you're able to do with that in terms of like identifying the top correlated type of customers from one to the other, and the larger data sets that you can get, the better things can get. We'll talk a little bit about that a little more here, because that's actually some of the things that we're seeing in the sales and CRM systems, where ChatGPT can be used as a valuable resource for the teams, providing that kind of interesting information, insights into the customer's behaviors and preferences, and scaling data across all of these different data points is very difficult to do if you don't know how it's structured. And so most of us don't quite understand how the CRM systems we use and the customer management systems hold the data, something like a ChatGPT, and some of the AI systems that are brought into those CRM systems now are really doing a fantastic job of that, at helping. And we're kind of at the beginning part of that component. Now, the thing that I have used this for quite a bit is to think of the large questions that you have relative to customer challenges. Digital information is so critical to a customer's, kind of innovation and the things that they need to do. But I need to have questions around how do they deploy certain things, or what are the certain challenges that a customer would have implementing a particular thing. And I can really deeply dig into the details using that ChatGTP format and that ability to get in there between the details inside of the data. I'm able to, let's say I have a question on finding access to a particular piece of insight, right? So you have questions you've got to ask up front. And a lot of times you don't want to interact with the customer directly too much ahead of time. Like sometimes there's a strategy, or you have very limited access to the sales, kind of counterparts to your organization. They want you to come in and perceive them to perceive you as an expert. So the more questions that you ask them, the less that confidence is in what you're doing becomes sometimes, and there's a certain tension. So one of the ways that you can use ChatGPT is basically have them pretend they're the customer, and then you ask the questions. And so I can ask qualifying questions of ChatGPT, having them impersonate the customer. I can easily engineer a prompt. You're a customer at a large manufacturing in the Midwest that creates heavy equipment, and you work in the shipping department. Now that I've kind of set the prompt up, now I can ask a question. What is your 3 biggest challenges that you're going to have delivering on your budget next year? So that would be a question you could be asking to a customer. And then they're going to give you varying degrees of answers. Now, ChatGPT will pretend that they're that person and will come up and give you 3 to 5 really good ones to start with. And so now I have 3 to 5 to start with. I have a quote unquote perspective that I'm starting with. And now the conversation that I'm going to be able to have with that target influencer in that customer is going to be much more directed at their particular needs. Now, I might not be 100% accurate in my observations, and that is okay, because that is you're developing a perspective and some empathy for that customer ahead of time. So now I'm able to say to that customer maybe a little more feeling finding question as opposed to a fact finding question. You could say something like, instead of saying, what are your top 3 concerns? That's a very closed-ended question. A very closed-ended question. It doesn't build empathy. It's just like you being an investigator and a reporter asking a question. And so now I'm able to walk in the door and ask a question more like, hey, during my research on an organization like yours, one of the things that I have and working with customers like you, one of the things that we have found is there's 5 different things that seem to be a challenge in delivering your profitability goals in your shipping department. These 3 here seem to be really important. Does that resonate with you? How do you feel about these particular observations? Do you find them to be accurate? And now it's a different kind of question. It's you're starting with a viewpoint, and you're kind of lobbing a softball question over to them, and you're doing a couple things. One is you're elevating the customer's individual, that technical expert over there, your peer on the other side of the table, and you're giving them an opportunity, especially if it's in front of everybody else, to basically, you have just given them the softball question that they can hit out of the park. Not only are you going to get some really great information in adjusting your initial, let's say, perspective, your theory that you have about how you can reduce their cost, but you're going to get good information out about it. Whatever comes out of this person's mouth now is going to be really good information. If you've teed it up in a good emotional way, this person now is going to have the opportunity to shine in front of all their peers. They're going to have this awesome experience right now to be able to kind of pontificate on everything that they've been thinking about and why this is a challenge and all of this. And it has nothing to do with the products or features that you have in your stuff. And so now you have just built this awesome emotional connection to somebody that helps them in their career, It gives you good information, and it makes the boss go, man, we hired a really good person over there. She is fantastic. She has really good insight and observation. And so you've just done a whole boatload of things by just the way you ask a really good question. So this is one of the things that ChatGPT is so amazing at doing. It's amazing at really prepping you for kind of that role playing almost. Well, not almost. You literally are role playing with ChatGPT around a sales dialogue and really developing a perspective. And what you can get in a half an hour working with ChatGPT before you engage with a customer is pays off in huge benefits. So I did a thing a couple weeks ago. I had a whole boatload of work that I had to do around a design thinking workshop. And so I had to reverse engineer basically a system that we had designed already. It had already been done. And so I wanted to kind of reverse engineer that from the view of a beverage distributor looking to do a merchandising application. We had already put together a merchandising application for the customer, but I wanted to kind of reverse engineer that process. How did you get from, I think we need to do this, to here's the product? I didn't attend the thing. So I went to ChatGPT basically to role play through what the CEO would be looking at. What would the chief operation officer be thinking of? What would all of the different people that are influencers in that technical decision about here's a technical solution, where would their perspective be? What was the IT risks that are associated with this particular product or this particular solution that we were proposing? And so I was able to really develop basically an entire workshop through that in the use of ChatGPT, all by role playing with the chatbot around risks and all of the things that you would be asking and doing kind of analysis for. So it was pretty fascinating to be able to have that experience and kind of go through it with that process. It's pretty amazing of what it's able to do. So that's part of it. So the lead qualification and lead generation stuff, that comes down to qualifying the leads that you have and building a good model around that. So ChatGPT is going to help you a lot. And I just encourage you to get in there and start playing with it relative to that kind of position. Put it in the spot of pretend it is like, answer this question as if you are and then fill in the blank there. And what you're going to fill in the blank there is describe the persona, the person of who is that customer. What is their personas? And so, you have all these different buying influences at our customer in the technical sales. So if I'm selling, say thermostats that go on, heating on presses, on injection molding presses, I have a buyer that is, the head of manufacturing and the head of engineering, and I have the service organization. All of these different people have to sign off on this. So I have a persona of these different buying personas, and I can basically inform ChatGPT who that buying persona is. You are a factory service engineer and a large, press operator, and you do injection molding for the automotive business. Let me ask you a question, right? And then you fill your question in. What are the 3 most important things on your agenda every day? What keeps you up at night? Just to ask ChatGPT the questions you would typically ask your customer. Now you're coming in again with that perspective. So that's part of that kind of whole lead qualification part. So that is really helpful. Product knowledge is another area. So ChatGPT in and of itself is not a great tool for engineering product stuff. Like I can't get it into the schematics and give it way too much technical detail. It's not really good at that. It is a language model. It's not a knowledge base. And so as language models go, it's fantastic. It's the best one that's ever been built right now. So, but what I can do is it can act as this kind of high level information gathering tool and answer common questions. And you can rely on it also when presenting somebody like a sales team. So often when you're in a sales dialogue with customers, you can, customer asks you a question you might not know the answer to. What I can do is pull up Bing or ChatGPT and ask the question right there on the fly. And then I'm going to be able to get answers. I think pretty soon you're just going to start seeing this kind of thing show up in like things like Teams and Slack and whatnot, where you just have not only it's like the fact checker. You have this secretary, so to speak, that sits in the meeting, a chat bot that's just part of the chat, stream, and I can address it just like anybody else, and it can answer those technical questions really quickly. So it's not going to get down into kind of speeds and feeds of your widget, but what it's going to do is be able to kind of understand the comprehensive nature of the market. And I can point it to specific product detail through URLs and have it answer questions. And that's the other kind of component. I can point these chatbots to my website. I can point them to my SharePoint site. And there's more stuff coming along in this that is really amazing stuff. And you're seeing that already in the customer service area and chatbots along with that. So that's kind of the second area is that kind of, as they're saying, product knowledge. And this is why I say encourage you guys to kind of think about how to use GTP, let's say promiscuous mode, if you will, or kind of a hidden mode during your sales dialogue with customers. And it's not uncommon, like I mentioned, for somebody to, got three people to have one person kind of assigned to the questions and kind of keeping track of the questions as you go, and then just passing those questions up to ChatGPT or Bing along the way, and maybe you can get some answers right away around some of that technical information and common questions that might be asked that you don't necessarily know of. And, the other, one of the things that I always say about technical sales is don't guess when it comes to the technical stuff. So you don't want to guess on this. You can give an informed decision, but always leave yourself some room for follow-up. And so, I might have the answer to chat through ChatGPT, but the way that you, let's say, formulate the response to that question to the larger group, I'm going, well, okay, I kind of looked this up and it seems like it's like this, but let me do a little more research on this, and you're kind of taking that question on yourself. And the thing with questions in technical sales, which is awesome, is one of the coolest parts of this, because you get two benefits when you do that. You get the ability to not only position yourself as the expert. I went and did my research, and now I have some authority on the answer. But more important, actually, what's more important in that whole thing is the psychology of I gave you a commitment and I followed through on that commitment. I said I would take care of this and I'm taking care of it. And that is building trust. And the thing is, when you're starting, especially if it's a brand new customer and you don't have any personal relationships, they don't trust you. They don't know you yet. You haven't even had any opportunity to do anything for them. And so to build trust, and so that's what this does. And so when you're saying, hey, we don't know the answer to that technical question, sometimes if you feel like that's a bad thing to say, often it's the best thing to say, because what you're saying is we care about the details, and we're so committed to that, like we're even willing to say we don't know. And we're going to follow up and own the answer to that question and bring you a better perspective, or I'm going to reach out to my experts internally on that kind of stuff. So you're be able to, interject some time into this. It does, take a little bit of time to do all that stuff. But when you follow through, man, you just earned a friend on the other side, of the table, so to speak. You built trust. So, don't guess on that technical stuff. You can come in with a quote unquote, I like to say this, perspective, which is an educated guess, but you're not being definitive with that. So all of the stuff I've talked about with ChatGPT, one of the things to understand is that ChatGPT is not a technical database. And so, it's not going to give you all the technical detail. It's going to help you develop a perspective, and you're going to still own all the technical details as you go along the way. Now, The other system that you're seeing right now, and my day job is around a company that has a giant CRM system and owns a large part of ChatGTP. And so they're putting that right into the customer relationship management system and customer care systems. It's called Copilot at Microsoft. And it's pretty cool, all the stuff that they're doing, where the customer relationship management system integrates right with this large language model and chat. And it really does improve the analysis and customer communications and follow-ups. And the AI provides insight into customer behavior and preferences. And it's pretty freaking amazing what this thing is working on and what some of these different AI models that we have today. I'm talking specifically today about chat and ChatGTP. One of the things that it's able to do really well at is just summarize customer interactions and keep track of that kind of stuff. Like, so after a sales process is completed, you can have it, you can ask it summary information, or you can have it respond to a customer's email query for a quote very quickly. It's stuff like that. So that is the other area. Number 4 on the list here really is proposal and quote generation. ChatGTP that's one of the coolest things that it's really able to do. You're going to so a lot of us worked on RFPs and requests for proposals and requests for information. And it's a big part of your job. I would say probably 20 to 30% of your role as a sales engineer doesn't have to do with directly closing a sale in a presentation. It has a lot to do with helping your sales team answer technical questions about your product or that kind of stuff, right? So you have these kind of RFP type of questions is like, what is your strategy around data center management? Or how do you handle security in your system? Or these kind of broader questions. Well, ChatGPT is just really, really great at answering those kind of questions. If you're a big company that has a lot of published information, then that becomes easier and easier to use a chatbot to help answer those types of questions, those broad RFP questions about those types of perspectives, like what is the security stance you like to have, and those types of things. So it's very, very helpful for answering a whole bunch of those kind of just broad questions. The whole trick often in an RFP is it's a bit of an art and a science. You're trying to answer the question as directly and specifically as possible, especially in the way that the litigious world is today. Business is so litigious, and so you're making a written commitment of what your company is doing and the capabilities of your product. And so you have to represent that accurately, but you don't want to be overly specific because a lot of times RFP filters out, companies that don't, maybe aren't priced right, or you're just brought in for column fodder, as they say. And so often you want to use the RFP response to elicit a request for more information. And so, the ChatGPT is really helpful at kind of doing that, helping create, let's say, non-specific answers. I won't put it that way, that you can add more technical detail to that. So I like how, honestly, and I have talked about it several times here, and I will talk about it just to the company's horn that I work with on my day job, is that they're not looking and positioning the large language models like chat as a separate, like this is a separate mind. It's a co-pilot to help somebody that knows what they're talking about work, and so it's really a co-pilot for you. And that's the way we really always should look at these models is they're really helping us and accelerating and formulating answers in the way that are best suited for our customers. So it's pretty cool. So that whole proposal and kind of stuff is really amazing. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it, you just have to go out and look at, it's called Viva Sales. Salesforce has something similar to this in their Einstein product, where basically the system is able to read a question from a customer in an email and formulate a response in a way that it's just as good as I would have written it. And it's able to go out even faster and like pull product data from my structured data systems, like my CRM systems, to pull in pricing information. So like a question like, hey, Pierre, do you have time to send me a quick quote? I need to get a number for our Houston branch. Can you give me pricing on 16 of the left-handed widgets and then the 4 of the blue widgets? Get back to me as soon as possible. So that would be an email, right? That you'd get from a customer or a prospect. And so you'd go out and kind of, okay, dear sir, thank you for your kind attention. And below you'll find, here's the product specification sheets. And I'm going to go out and look up your pricing, and I'm going to apply the appropriate discount. And I'm going to have to go into another tool to actually write the quote up and pull up a Excel spreadsheet to do insert all the product numbers and all of that. Well, that chatbot stuff, or that ChatGTP and the Copilot products inside of CRM systems are doing that. That's what they're doing. It's pretty amazing. They're able to go through all of that and get that done in a very, within 30 seconds. You have a proposal put together in an email with the right pricing for that customer's discount tier. The ChatGPT went through all of that email that came in and basically structured all the responses. It's amazing what it's able to do. So proposals and quote generations, the kind of quick quotes, the system is able to, those systems are just, it's blowing me away. This is when I've seen these demos now and starting to see the stuff get in use, that kind of proposal quote, email response support, all of that kind of stuff. That is, there's not very many things when you've been selling stuff as long as I have that are impressive. That is the most impressive thing I have ever seen in tech right now. That ability for that thing to sort through an email, deserialize the question, and to normalize the data so it can create a query that goes into a structured system. That's what it's doing. And so that deconstruction of the language is what your brain does. That takes years of experience to figure that stuff out. The fact that this thing can just read through that email and understand that, hey, get me a price means, or hey, the intent. What is the intent of this email? Well, the intent is a quote. So I need to go and create a quote. And so it might not even say, please send me a quote, but it understood the intent of it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the last one is sales coaching. It's actually a really valuable resource for teams to provide best practices, sales techniques, and stuff like that. So if you you have, let's say, particularly sticky situations with a customer, that maybe there's conflict of interest, or, there's a competitive situation. It's that kind of stuff where there's I needed some broad coaching kind of tips in terms of what kind of position should we take when a customer is a competitor. So I have a product that I sell to a customer, but they're also a competitor on another area. How should I proceed? Something like that. And that is a good question to ask something like ChatGPT, because really what it's drawing on is a lot of coaching data and books on coaching and all of that kind of stuff. So it's going to come back with a pretty structured kind of set of strategies that you can use to address, and it will take up many different positions. So it's not, let's say, it's really good at this too. When it has things where there is a spectrum of beliefs, it will just state all of them as opposed to picking one and you could ask it then, of these, which is most effective? Then you can refine that more like a dialogue. Well, of these 5 different, sales strategies, which one do you think is the most effective? Can you rank them by effectiveness? How about which was most effective in my industry? And it's stuff like that where it just accelerates your usage of that ability to connect, right to a customer. So those are some tips there, as we say. Some pretty cool stuff, man. Hey, ChatGPT used as a sales engineer to support various aspects of sales process. So yeah, there you go. That's how it works for that. All right. Well, let's move on to the last part of our day here, and just continue to have an awesome day. And thank you all for your time and attention. How can ChatGPT be used as a sales engineer? We're going to keep down this road a little more as we talk in the future. And I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for all the love and support. I'm loving it. We're having more success on the podcast than ever. Peace, love, baby. We're out.